Charlie, talk to me about your motivation in making this documentary.
My films represent innocent people who have been murdered, and this is no exception. We have just a serious case of injustice. This time, the majority of the victims were kids, over 90%. This is unacceptable. This just speaks to who we are today. We are a mass shooting galore country. We are in huge trouble. There has to be more serious awareness thrown towards this thing. We can't get desensitized to it. The state of Texas has been victimized by so many mass shootings, left and right. I mean, whenever I see Greg Abbott, I say to myself, there's Greg mass shooting Abbott. I mean, I go by the results. I'm not Democratic or Republican. I'm independent. I go by the results. I go by the behavior and personality of people. That's all I go by. And the results are horrendous. As you and I are talking right now, somebody is getting shot.
And if you will, Charlie, what do you hope people take away from this film if they choose to see it?
Tremendous emotion. I hope when people walk out, the most important thing is that they're more informed. I've often said a documentary, I don't want people to say, oh, you made a great documentary. To me, a documentary, as long as you're more informed as you walk out, as opposed to when you walked in, that's the whole key. Are you more informed? Are you more educated? Is the awareness raised? So any documentary I make, inform, educate, raise awareness for serious dialogue and change.
And what information or awareness do you want people to get from Robb-ed specifically?
We have a serious problem today of innocent people being gunned down, especially kids. The number one reason or the number one way of kids getting killed today is by gunfire. It keeps happening. I'm at a loss right now. The results are horrendous. Anyone's kid could be next. Since Robb has occurred, there hasn't been much change from a legal standpoint, political standpoint, government standpoint. It's sad. Our society, I mean, if I see another politician in a suit trying to BS me, I'm going to throw up.
And talk to me about where this film will be shown and when people can see it as well.
You mean locally or overall?
Overall. I understand there's a couple different release dates.
Yeah, all the information is on the website, robbedfilm.com. It's too long for me to list, but for immediate purposes, Uvalde at Forum 6. There's going to be a private screening for the families on Monday at 7 o'clock. And also there's going to be a paid screening in San Antonio at the Santico Silverado, Tuesday at 7 o'clock on the 31st. The Uvalde one is on the 30th, all of January. We're talking all next week. And then the movie will open for good on the 3rd at Santico Silverado and city-based theaters in San Antonio for a minimum 1-week run. The Uvalde run will depend upon the reaction on Monday night. And the 24th is when the movie opens in 5 or 6 more locations across Texas. And I may add even more next week or the week after in terms of the 24th.
And we'll get into the reaction in just a moment. I understand that a portion of proceeds are also going to go to families and victims. If you'll explain that as well.
Sure, I signed a contract. I donate a lot of money to victims from my movies. That's why I'm trying to create as much awareness as possible. 50% of my paycheck from Uvalde's box office will go to the families that participated in the documentary. And for other venues outside of Uvalde, 25% along with streaming, which has absolutely exploded today. Streaming is the #1 choice for audiences, and it's only getting bigger. There's over 40 streaming platforms today, and I can't even name you half of them. There's just so many. There's a streaming war going on right now.
And you said half will go to the families who participated in your film from the Uvalde paycheck.
25% from streaming and box office cities outside of Uvalde. Uvalde's 50%.
Right.
And the theater in Uvalde is donating 100% of their money. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to, but for me, I can only control my money. Is that it's going to go to the families who participated in the documentary.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about some of the reaction this is getting
No, you
from
read the email
families.
I sent to you? The email
Huh?
I sent to you? Did you
Yes,
read
I
the
do
email
have.
I sent to you?
Yep, I have it. I actually have it pulled up right here. So let's first just go into the reaction this is getting online, looking at multiple different families who did participate in the documentary now speaking out against the documentary. What is your reaction to that? Who are saying they feel exploited?
I'm shocked. What have they seen? Did they steal the movie from my safe and they became Roger Ebert overnight? I mean, this is unbelievable to me. The work put into this thing to honor the victims, to represent them properly. I've been doing this for 14 years, covering almost 40 films. If I was up to no good, I would have been stopped 14 years ago. I mean, my track record is what it is. I have the respect of most in the nation because I have 26 films on Amazon Prime. All the reviews are there. I have nothing to hide. This is complete transparency from my part. These victims, these families showed up at their own discretion, at their own will. They answered questions to the best of their ability. Nobody walked out. Nobody said, "Oh, time out here. Your questions are not appropriate." Everything couldn't have been more normal. And they even signed releases after they gave the interview. And all of a sudden, a week before the movie's about to come out, they go on social media, the cheapest and tackiest way to do it. I mean, I tell my crew, don't engage on social media because it makes you look cheap and tacky because anyone can do that and say anything. That's why I'd rather do it on this forum with a journalist like yourself at KSAT so I can get the word out properly and professionally.
And I know you said they willingly participated in these interviews. Approximately what time frame did you do these interviews for this documentary?
We did it in, I want to say July and again in September. And I really want to stress that I didn't know anyone in Uvalde. So we found one point person who has access to a lot of the people that were affected. She got the word out and people came in droves. They came in waves. We had
Oh, Charlie, I think our connection. Can you still hear me?
and people all of a sudden wouldn't have showed up. That didn't happen. They were coming back and then some, and for more and more. And then I needed to get the child survivors in the film. So I came back 2 months later, contacted the same person who has access to all these families, and she helped me get those people. If things were so horrible the first time around, how did I get access the second time around? So you see the position I'm in here. Out of nowhere, people are going on social media. And again, anyone can go on social media and say anything. You know, it's the tackiest thing in the world, the cheapest thing you can do. It's for 10-year-olds. I'm not 10 years old, so I'm not going to get into a pissing match on social media.
And I do want to point out the term 10 years old, most of those victims were 10 years old. Do you feel like that's a little bit of a dig at what happened?
Not at all. I mean, I really do feel social media is for 10-year-olds to start getting into a pissing match.
Do you
I
feel
didn't have the Uvalde victims in mind when I said that. It really is for children. That was my point.
I'm looking at Maggie Moreles's Eva's sister's post, and she says, "We regret this. When he pressed my niece about certain topics, I intervened by trying to deflect and attempt to answer the question, and he told me to be quiet and let her answer." What is your response to a comment like that?
Total lie, like all the other things on social media. Total lie. I told her to be quiet. Is that what she said? What unbelievable. No comment. Total, except just a total fabrication. Complete. And then Arnulfo Reyes said, I cussed him out. I don't curse. All my friends know that. I don't drink, smoke, or curse because it makes you look bad. Again, please keep in mind, anyone can go on social media and write anything. Always remember that. It's for a child to do.
Looking at the trailer, it was fairly impactful, seeing all the survivors sitting in one room talking about what they saw. Chloe Torres in particular, we have heard her name before because her 911 calls were released by CNN when she had called asking for help. What was that like for you sitting there and meeting with them, and how did you approach asking them questions about what they saw and experienced that day?
Yeah, I want to stress that all the child survivors' parents were in the room. They're all on board with this film. So any cheap shots towards the movie made by people, again, before they saw it, I need to stress this. All these judgments are made without seeing the movie. And that's unfair to the child survivors who want their stories out there. The child survivors, their parents, completely on board. I've talked to them over the last couple of days, and they're confused about the backlash as much as I am. So I didn't treat anyone any differently from anyone else when I do my interviews. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden I said, "Oh, because I'm in Uvalde, I'm just going to be a jerk to everybody." My technique has worked for 14 years. I've worked with major companies like Lionsgate, Investigation Discovery, Gravitas Ventures, a huge VOD company. I encourage people to go on Google so they can see what I've done. I have nothing to hide, nothing.
I do want to circle back to my question. When you're approaching talking to children about what they saw and experienced, how do you approach that kind of a conversation for something that is incredibly traumatic?
Yeah, for something like that specifically, that's so different. I mean, I had never done that before. Obviously, you have to be more delicate because they're children. I mean, they're 9, 10, 11 years old. Their parents are in the room. So you have to be extra careful and understand the sensitivity about this. So we sat down for a couple of hours in Uvalde with the 6 child survivors. Everything went great. Like I said, the parents of the child survivors are completely on board with the project.
And I want to bring up, because in that trailer, you can hear you asking questions to Chloe and also to Mia. And I understand you're saying you approach this with sensitivity, but asking, did you see all 10 of your friends get shot? Do you think that's the most sensitive way to ask, or whose body was closest to you? Do you think that's the most sensitive way to approach a child who's gone through something traumatic?
The documentaries are meant to inform, educate, and raise awareness. If you want to come after me because I'm trying to tell you what exactly happened, then go ahead.
I'm not trying to come after you, Charlie. I'm asking, is that the most appropriate way to ask a child to recount what happened that day, whose body was closest to you?
My producer and I made it clear to the parents that we were going to recount that day, recap that day, and some of the questions might be difficult. This is a difficult topic. The difficult topic lends to difficult questions. So I had studied Chloe's interviews in the past. She was very open, talking about what happened. And again, the parents were right there. And not once did any parent intervene and go, no, 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 I don't think my child should answer that. Not once.
Are you worried about re-traumatization when asking those kinds of questions?
I root for everyone that's in my documentary. I care about what they think. If there was some negativity or animosity brewing behind the scenes, I encourage them to speak up and right then and there and say, hey, look, I changed my mind. I'm sorry, I'm leaving. Okay, fine. I wouldn't have stopped them. If they don't want to sign the release, that's fine. But in my career, that has never happened.
I understand where you're coming from. Absolutely. With this backlash that's now brewing with so many families now saying, yes, we participated, we feel it was misrepresented, we no longer support this. Do you feel that it's ethically sound to move forward with the release of this film, with so many of the participants saying we don't want to be a part of it anymore? We don't feel like this was what we intended it to be.
I do, because they haven't seen the film, so I don't know what they're judging. I'll say this to you till I turn blue. What are they judging? It's unbelievable what's going on. Once people see the movie, say all you want, and I'll listen. But again, people have judged it before they've seen it. I guess they stole the movie from my safe, and they became Roger Ebert. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's like maybe they hacked my computer.
If the families see the film on Monday and they tell you we're still not okay with how you presented these interviews, what's the course of action then?
Well, that's up to the theater owners, and that would be egregiously unfair to the people who do support the film. I hope you'll report this story in a way that a lot of people are also supporting the movie. We have all the child survivors and their families, along with Anne-Marie's dad, Alfred. And I think that was reported on the Express News article just yesterday. So we haven't polled everybody. We're so busy trying to get the film ready and prepared that, if anyone wants to tell us something, my producer and I will, I'm sure there's a way they can get us a message and we'll listen.
I'm just asking that on Monday, if all the families who see this film, which I understand there's a large group who's anticipated, according to the theater owner, to see the film on Monday, if they still resoundingly, families of victims resoundingly say, we're not comfortable with this, would you consider removing their part of this documentary?
Well, I just answered that question. It's up to the theater owner. I'm not alone on this thing. I just make the film, and then other people have to decide whether they're going to make the movie. It's almost like if you see someone on TV you don't like, it's not their fault. Somebody had to put them there. Somebody had to okay this. Somebody had to approve it. So in my case, there's a lot of people that collaborates with me in getting it on streaming, in getting it movie theaters. It's not just me. I mean, I need others to place the films, whether it's streaming or movie theater or anything else.
I think maybe I'm not phrasing my question correctly. You are, though, responsible for making the film. It's your documentary. It is your vision. You're the one who's putting this together. If the Uvalde Theater decides we're not going to show it after the reaction, but the family still would not like you to release the film at all, would you consider not releasing the film?
I would have to look at the overall reaction after people see the film, because again, the child survivors, their families are all on board, along with, I told you, Anne-Marie's dad, and there might be others that, again, we haven't polled everybody. And I hate talking out of turn here because, again, no one has watched the movie. So until people see it, this is just guesswork at this point.
Right. We are speaking in hypotheticals because, like you said, no one has seen the film yet. That's why I just wanted to approach the topic and see what your course of action would be if they still decide we are not comfortable with our portions of this being included. And I'm sure that you have heard Amory's dad, Alfred. There's some animosity between the mother and the father and his involvement in this film as well. I've heard from Kim that they were not included in this because they had to reschedule several
times. 3 times we had them scheduled. 3 times they didn't show up. So we could only go by what's in front of us. We interviewed Anne-Marie's real dad, who gave a sterling interview. My producer and I, we have no idea what all the soap opera drama is behind the scenes. We can't research everything. We're just so busy. We're stressed. Again, we have to turn people away. We try our best for people to give their best account of what happened and also about their loved ones. So it's impossible for us to vet everything. Even studios miss stuff. And I'm an independent filmmaker. So in terms of what you're saying, we had them schedule 3 different times, and 3 different times they didn't show up.
There's also claims that the release was signed before the interviews were done.
Big time lie. Big time lie. Total 100% lie. I got witnesses in the room. I've been doing this for 14 years. Everybody signs a release after the fact. These are all lies. 1000% lies. Why in the world would anyone sign something before they speak, just in case something goes wrong? I mean, that's just wrong. I mean, that's ethically wrong. A release is signed after the fact. My producer goes up to them and says, "Can you please sign this so we could put it in the movie?" 1000% lie. LIE, that the releases are signed beforehand. That just sums it all up right there.
Has there been any effort? I know you said you don't respond on social media, but has there been any effort to reach out to the families who are clearly upset and clearly do not want to be a part of this film anymore? Has there been any effort to talk with them and try and calm down their fears or hesitation for being a part of this, or outright saying, I don't want to?
Yeah, my producer reached out to one family member, but they didn't get back to her. I've reached out to the Matas a couple of times. They responded once by saying, because I was considering bringing the film to Texas State in San Marcos, because there's a very emotional part of the movie about Texas State and San Marcos, in San Marcos. And I reached out to one of the interviewees that was in the movie. She's a senior there. And I guess that turned out to be a huge mistake, because the mom said, if you have any questions, come to me. It was very curt. It was rude, abrupt, her text to me. And that's when I said, okay, I can't talk to her. And then people tell me the inside stories of Uvalde, how it's very cliquish, and, people follow each other. They may not even agree with what that person is, but they'll just follow them because they said, okay, do it this way. And people will just jump on the bandwagon. It'd be great if there were more independent thinkers and say, I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, judge it for the way I see it. I don't know. Maybe that happens more in a small town. I have no idea. But to answer your question, some. But I know that some of them won't want to talk to me because they've already made up their minds. I mean, I guess they hacked the movie and saw it and became a critic of it when no one has seen a frame of it.
No, I believe Jacob Henson said he has seen it.
Yeah, some select people who had to see it to write about it. The theater owner saw it. A few influential critics saw it. And people I trust. Some people have asked for it, but I have to be very careful these days. When you just throw out a link like that, someone could just record it. Someone could distribute it. You have to be very careful today. Just sending someone a link with all the technology out there today.
Charlie, is there anything else that you want to add about this?
Well, we've been attacked. The film has been attacked without anyone seeing it. I have to protect the film. I have to protect the people that want it out there, who participated in the film. The 6 child survivors have basically been treated like dirt, by the people criticizing the film by again, giving it so much backlash when they haven't seen it. So this is a direct shot at the child survivors who were outstanding in the documentary. I wish these complaints would have been told to me last year when I was done with the film. I wish they would have said, take me out. Not one person said that. I would have gladly taken them out if that were the case. The child survivors make the movie. Over 90% of the people murdered in this tragedy were children. We can't lose sight of that. I mean, this was Sandy Hook Part 2. And unfortunately, nothing really has been done since then in terms of legislation, government, nothing. It's sad. If Sandy Hook didn't do it, then what will? Well, Uvalde's almost proving that right now, that our politicians have done nothing. And maybe the approach has to be different on how to go about this thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm open to ideas. Maybe this documentary will do something. I think the families are losing sight in the fact that I'm on their side. I'm a victim's advocate. We could have done some unbelievable work together on this thing, but apparently they judged the movie without seeing it. I can't help that part.
Just 2 more questions for you, Charlie. I understand you probably are getting a lot of interview requests right now. You said, you wish they would have come to you last year and said, hey, I would like to be taken out of this. I mean, why could they, if they're expressing that now, we'd like to not be a part of this, why could they not now be taken out? And then the movie could simply focus on the child survivors that you say is key.
It's too late. The movie's coming out next week. I mean,
could you not?
Do you understand
I do understand.
Do you understand the editing process and how difficult? I mean, the film has to be turned in a week before. The editing is done. It takes almost half a year to edit a movie. I mean, this is 24/7 around the clock type of work. And it's, had they told me back then, I would have gladly taken them out because I don't want someone to be in the movie that doesn't want to be in the movie. What good does that do?
They also said that they had the understanding it was going to be coming out in May, so maybe they would have had more time to think about things.
Okay, let me just say this one last thing about the families who are complaining. We're all adults here, okay? They showed up at their own will and discretion. They did the interview, they signed the release, and they went home. What do you want me to do? They did it at their own discretion. I guess some of the comments out there are like they were forced to do it, or I stuck a camera in their face. I didn't know these people. You know, again, a family member put the word out on a group chat. People came in waves. This was during a 3-day period. Okay, if I was up to no good, word would have gotten out within an hour, and people would not have come. Maybe the first couple would have come, and then all of a sudden word gets out. Okay, this is not what we thought. People kept coming in waves. We had to turn people away. And then when I wanted to come back a second time, that same person set me up with the child survivors. If things were so horrible the first time around, why did she accommodate me the second time around? I mean, am I missing something here throughout this whole process? Unbelievable what's being said out there, and the lies. The lying has got to go.
My final question for you, and again, it's based on what people are commenting about this, family members, people who lost their children, people who lost their moms in this tragedy. They're saying initially they were approached and said this was going to be a way to just honor their loved one's memory, and they feel that this is not what it is turned into.
But they haven't seen the movie. I mean, we're going around and around and around again. They were told the movie recaps that day along with honoring the victims. All my films are about that. All of them. A documentary is supposed to do that. It's supposed to inform, educate, and raise awareness. I'm only doing what a documentary is supposed to do.
So Charlie, we just got done seeing the film with a majority of the families showed up to watch this 3:30. I know some are going to show up for the 7 o'clock showing. A lot of the families, their feelings still haven't changed. They are not comfortable with what is being shown in this documentary.
I don't expect them to like the film. Who would like a film that talks about their son or daughter being murdered? To me, the most important thing as a documentary filmmaker is, do they understand the film, and are they more informed? I think it's so important to look at the big picture here. At the end, will the film have lasting effects towards impact, change, and justice? Of course, they're not. Of course, they will not like what's being said in the movie. I don't expect them to like the film. To me, what's more important is, do they understand the film? I cannot cater to one group. My films are shown nationally. They're on major streaming platforms, and I have to appeal to the guy in Lincoln, Nebraska, who's never heard of the Uvalde mass shooting. So again, I cannot cater to one group because the film is seen by a lot of people.
The families are stating tonight they feel exploited by you. They agreed to this interview because you were going to honor their loved ones. But more than half of the movie is about the police response and what happened on May 24th. They feel lied to, that it is not actually honoring their loved one's memory. Felicia Martinez talked about her son Xavier and said most of what she said about Xavier was not shown in that film.
Each person is profiled. You saw it yourself, all 21. And you know this as well as anyone being a journalist. We can't put 90% of an interview in something, because the interviews are probably at least an hour long. So we've done some Zoom interviews, and I don't expect you to use 90% of it. I understand the realities of it. But I think what's so important right now is what's done is done. I need to go back to what happened here. I just found out about their displeasure a week ago, last Monday. And I don't expect anyone to understand this if they're not a filmmaker, but this was a grueling 6-month process for my crew and I. Financing, resources, all the work put into editing this movie. Had I known earlier, about their displeasure a few months ago when the trailer came out, we wouldn't be having this conversation. One of the family members apologized to me for the extreme late communication. So I wish I could just press a couple of buttons and wave a magic wand and fix what they want fixed. It's so hard. I'm not a studio. You know, I have one editor, and right now we've moved on to the next project. So if we go back to Uvalde, that would throw everything off. So again, I don't expect people to understand this unless they're a filmmaker, but that's the realities of it. To come to me with their displeasure 1 week before the movie is about to come out, that is just way too late. And again, I was blindsided by it. People came at their own will and discretion to be interviewed. They signed the release. Here we are.
When did that trailer officially come out?
I don't have the exact date, but it's been months.
Approximate date.
I don't know. It's been months. I think there's a date on the YouTube thing. I know it's been out for months. There's no doubt about it. And again, here's another interesting thing, and that is when we let people know about the screening 2 weeks ago or so, 70 people signed up without one complaint, and all of a sudden, Forum 6 puts it on their Facebook, and all the complaints came out. Why I don't know. So if Forum 6 hadn't done that, I don't know what kind of a difference that would have made.
The families were told you were going to release this film at the 1-year anniversary. Ruben Ruiz, Chloe's dad, also said at the 1-year anniversary. Is there a reason why it was released earlier than that?
Because the film was done. I release 3 films a year. My next one is about Asian hate, and I felt it was important to get that word out because we're being attacked left and right every day. So, I mean, whether the film came out in February or May, just don't know how much of a difference that could have made. When I told people about the release date, it was sort of a floating date. I really wasn't sure. And it turned out to be a February 3rd in some cities, February 24th, I believe, in other cities. Again, don't know how much of a difference releasing it in February or May would have made. Not sure.
I guess the difference is that then you would have had months time to take out the families who no longer wish to be a part of your film, who have now contacted lawyers to issue you a cease and desist and rescinding their consent to be a part of this film.
Yeah, cease and desist is for someone who did something illegal. I did nothing illegal.
But their lawyers are saying that they were revoking consent, saying they no longer wish to be used in your film.
But it's too late. They already signed the release. The movie's done.
But
So,
the release, and I have
don't know what to tell you there.
I have a copy of that release, and that release doesn't talk about any penalties if that consent is revoked.
I don't know. I can only go by the release. I've been doing this for 14 years, 36 movies, never been sued. Everyone has a right to do whatever they want. But in my case, I did nothing wrong.
So you're not going to respect the consent withdrawal from these families?
I'm not sure yet. I have a lot of thinking to do. The film's already been destroyed. It was taken out of 2 San Antonio movie theaters. I've had events canceled as well. I'm guilty of making a victim-driven film. Very confident of that.
Jace Luevanos, his parents, I know that they did not give consent for his photos to be used. He's one of 3 that did not give consent for their photos to be used. Are you going to remove their portion?
Yeah, I can't comment on potential legal matters. All I know is there is stuff called fair use and public domain, stuff that's been on the news before. I did collaborate with a news station on this as well. So I've made 36 movies, never been sued. I've been doing this for 14 years. If I was up to no good, I would have been stopped 14 years ago.
Families are saying they're being contacted by other people you did films with, like the El Paso victims and the Sutherland Spring victims, saying if they would have got to them sooner, they would not have worked with you as a filmmaker. What do you have to say about those families who are now speaking out against you as well?
I've never heard one complaint about the Sutherland Springs project until you brought it up just now. I donated a lot of money to those victims, to the church. I'm in the public eye here. So anytime you throw yourself out into the public, you got to expect to hear it from both sides, all sides.
You said that the film is now destroyed. What does that mean? Will it not be showing in the premiere cinemas that are also listed on the Robb film?
I'm not sure of that, but all my films get on all major streaming platforms. So that might be the best route at this time. I didn't put in my blood, sweat, guts, and tears for 6 months, put up every dollar on this to be blindsided a week before the movie's about to come out. Again, if you're not a filmmaker, I don't expect you to know all these things, but to be blindsided by this, again, a week before the movie's about to come out is a bit unfair. I need a lot more time than that. I mean, this is a process. Filmmaking is an art form. People go to film school for this. It's not easy at all. And I'm so confident in the film and what it could do, the long-term goals, justice, impact, and change. And I've always said with a documentary, it's not whether it's good or not, it's are you more informed? That's the whole point of a doc. People have to understand what a documentary is. It's not like a regular movie. It's meant to inform, educate, and raise awareness. And if I did that, then I think I did my job. And in this case, no doubt about it, the information in there, in this movie, so detailed. I hope that the victims can use that from a legal standpoint down the road. You're not going to tell me you didn't learn something new in this film. It's incredibly detailed. And if somebody wants to come after me because I told them what happened, then I guess that's their right. I'm just telling people what happened. Nothing was made up. All these quotes came from the horses' mouths. They're the ones who said it. I wasn't there. They painted the picture. They agreed to sit down with me. During the interview process, nobody walked out. Nobody said, time out, you're being inappropriate. Nobody. We're all adults here. They showed up. They signed the release. I can only go by what's in front of me. So 1 week before the movie's about to come out, it was just too late for me to change anything.
Looking at this film, in one instance, I understand accuracy is extremely important in this. Uzziah's name is spelled wrong in one instance in this film. Human
error. I regret if that's the case. Sometimes mistakes are made just on fatigue alone and exhaustion, and we're all human. So that's the worst mistake I ever made in my life. I could sleep at night.
One other question.
Let me finish here. Obviously unintentional. People spell names wrong sometimes. We triple check everything. Somehow that I'd have to see it, but if you say it's there, then that's probably what happened. But we're all humanly.
One other instance, looking at that surveillance video from the funeral home outside, I've watched the surveillance video as well. There was no gunshots in that surveillance video, but in the surveillance video you showed in this film, there are gunshots. Did you add gunshots to that surveillance video?
Yeah, the pastor said that he was fired at 8 times.
So
we put that in there. I'm sorry?
So you added 8 gunshots.
Yeah, because that's what the pastor said. So that was based on a fact. Now, had he not said that, we wouldn't have put that in. But he was fired at 8 times, and it's great that the killer missed all 8 attempts at both the pastor and the other person who came out with him.
I'm also being told that you informed the families no reenactments would be a part of this film, but there were in fact reenactments in the film.
I mean, a reenactment of the killer getting in his car, again, to tell the story properly. Reenactment, I thought they meant you're not going to do a reenactment where kids are getting shot. So I have to tell the story to the best of my ability. And I thought at that time, showing him getting into his car, and again, I never mentioned the killer's name. He gets into his car, he crashes it, walks calmly to the school. I questioned where were the police while he was walking so slowly to the school. I've been doing this a long time, Lee. I'm so transparent. I'm not shy. The reviews on Amazon Prime Video are all there. Just about all my movies get 4 to 5 stars, with 5 stars being the highest. Very confident about what I'm doing through hard work and experience.
One final question for you, Charlie. Sitting in that movie theater with these families who lost their loved ones 8 months ago, in a horrific way, and some of the survivors' families as well. You could hear open sobbing as they listen to the gunshots in the hallway, the gunshots you added to the surveillance video. And they're saying one of their biggest regrets in life is now sitting down to speak with you about this film. Knowing what they're saying about this film, are you still proud of the product you put out there?
Absolutely, 100%. The film is victim driven. It's so informative. Nobody was forced to sit down with me. Nobody. We're all adults here. They did it at their own will and discretion. And I told you earlier, I don't expect the victim's family to like the film. Who's going to like anything talking about their sons and daughters being killed? What's more important to me is, do they understand the film? Are they more informed? So again, I have to appeal to the person in Bismarck, North Dakota, who has no idea about this, because my films are seen by so many people because of my track record. I have a huge following on streaming. As I told you earlier, my films are always right around 4 to 5 stars, with 5 stars being the highest. I must be doing something right here. If not, I would have been stopped a long time ago. The proof is in the pudding. It's all there. I don't know these people who are reviewing my movies, but they are, and I'm in business. I've had so many people tell me, oh, because of your Parkland film, I'm sitting down here and talking to you. This whole interview, you're looking at the glass half empty towards me, and I don't appreciate it.
Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate the interview.